Hi. Um, Almost 2 weeks ago, I went to a workshop from Outskill. It was supposed to be a big deal, and it is what helped me to catch up on what's going on with AI lately. They titled it the Generative AI Mastermind Workshop, and they're very strict. So, for example, they tell you things like you have to attend the full workshop in order to receive your certificate, and you have to attend to receive the bonuses that they give. And I want to just first put a pin in the balloon of the title. So the reason I say that is because they call this Mastermind, which is really like what a lot of people are doing are calling master class. And from what I've seen, I haven't attended very many master classes because after the first couple, I think it was, I realized they weren't actually master classes. The term is being abused by anybody who wants to make you think that their program is some kind of an amazing, way above average program, when in actuality, it often is not. It's a marketing term more than anything. It has no particular meaning because marketing has destroyed its meaning by abusing the name for everything. So everybody's coming out with these master classes. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I went to a master class on another subject, and it was like, really? That's all we're going to get out of this? But anyways, so the first thing is, it's not a mastermind, it's not a master class, it's not a master anything. The second thing is they call it a workshop, and it's not a workshop. Okay, in a workshop, you actually work, you actually do things, you make things, whatever it happens to be that workshop is about. You do it, and in this program, you don't. So it's not a workshop; it's a seminar. And it's about as interactive as a seminar. So that's as far as the title is called. I'm just going to call it the AI class or AI seminar, because yes, they use generative AI and they show you certain things that you can do with generative AI, like making images and making prompts and making videos, making programs. They show you this stuff, but you're not actually doing anything other than occasionally, when they allow it, giving suggestions. Okay, so it's not a workshop. Don't want you to be confused on that. Now, the the host of the program is the director of growth for Outskill, and his name is Priyatam Vusala or something like that. And he sets the tone, that it's very strict, and it is pretty darn strict. I mean, they obviously can't compel you to attend, especially if you decide, well, this is way too easy for me. This is too basic. I was looking for a master class. I wasn't looking for something this simple. But he lets you know right up front that most of the time you're not going to be able, or sorry, you are expected to behave nicely in chat, and he gives you these things that you have to follow, these rules. And then for the vast majority of the time that you are working with him or Cameron or Jordan or Vaibhav, you don't have access to the chat. I think the most access to the chat we had was when we were working with Jordan. He kept it open for pretty much the entire time. Cameron, sometimes it was on, sometimes it was off. Vaibhav, mostly it was off. And with Priyatam, it was mostly off as well. And so it's very, very, very locked down, and it can be frustrating. They don't want to hear any criticisms. They will promote this event, and if you pay attention, you'll notice some inconsistencies. One of the most glaring inconsistencies that I saw was they talked about 11 million people or something like that, some crazy number of people who have attended the class already. But then they tell you that the vast majority of those people never completed the course. I don't remember the exact number, but it was very, very high. I mean, I think it was in the 90s. So 11 million started, and a vast majority of those 11 million didn't finish. That's not a good track record. It says something important about their seminar. Now, you also need to understand that the seminar will start. Now, I'm in the East Coast time zone in America. So for me, it started at 10 o'clock, I believe it was. And it would end supposedly at 9 p.m. So 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now, keep in mind, Outskill is based in India. Now, I happened to see a video by one of the YouTubers in IT that I respect. She's very smart. She's heavily involved in the very technical side of like computer chip making and stuff like that. And so she had said, I reserved, she basically said it in such a way that it sounded like she paid for it. I reserved, or I bought 1,200 tickets. So anybody, if you apply within the next 4 hours from the time that I put this video up, you can get in for free. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I can catch up on generative or LLMs, and I can learn where they're currently at, and I can learn maybe how to use them too. And I will say right now, yes, you can learn, but as an observer, and occasionally as somebody giving suggestions or feedback, but not unless you're following along on your own LLM. That's the extent of it. So, first of all, the vast majority of the time, chat is locked down. And it's funny because Cameron, especially when he was doing his segments, which he did one on Saturday and one on Sunday. Oh, and by the way, there will be one that will show up for Monday. That is a ghost. It's not supposed to be there. I thought perhaps it wasn't supposed to be there because it had not been mentioned, but it was on my calendar, put there by them. So I signed up, I signed in and waited and waited and waited, and finally, eventually got kicked out because there wasn't one. Now, because they are operating in India, it's the middle of the night for them as they run this. So they are, you can, if you look closely, you'll see their eyes are bloodshot when it comes to Priyatam and Vaibhav. So they're kind of grumpy. And you will catch that they're kind of short-tempered when people say things that they don't like. There was one person that called it a scam, supposedly, in chat. And Vaibhav's response was, well, if that's how you feel, just leave. He wasn't even going to address it, which is fine. You didn't have to. I'm not going to call it a scam. It's a marketing tool. That 2-day weekend, which ended up ending around 6:30, 7 o'clock every night, both nights, instead of 9, which was a great relief to me. But because of projects that, like this channel that I work on, I didn't really have time to do any like extra things that they suggested, kind of homework. So this, in the beginning, they admit to you, or that Priyatam admits to you, that this is only going to take you through the first of 5 steps to get you to become an AI generalist, which is, I don't know if that's their term or if it's somebody else's term, but basically it's somebody who can handle all different kinds of LLMs, put their skills all together to produce the product that is needed. Now, Vaibhav, who is one of the presenters, also happens to be the founder of Outskill, but that is not admitted to in the program. He says he's part of another company. But if you look at the certificate, which let me put mine up on the screen for you, I'm kind of pissed because they auto capitalize. So I'm not showing you the whole thing, but I will tell you that if you have capital letters that are not at the beginning of each part of your name, it will remove those capital letters and replace them with lowercase letters, which is really annoying. So you will get that. You will get some bonuses. They call them bonuses. Basically, these are just some tools that can help you somewhat. They give you some pre-made prompts. They're basic prompts, but they can be somewhat helpful. The first hour and a half or so of the first day, Saturday, by Priyatam, was almost entirely marketing. Yeah. So basically, it was a lot of, there was some AI stuff, but the majority of it was building up Outskill and building up the presenters for Outskill so that you would believe that, wow, this is something amazing. So it gives you really high expectations, which can be good if you're somebody who's easily manipulated that way. And especially if you don't know how to frame that expectation. If you don't know much about AI and they build it up and then you get it, you're going to think, wow, this was amazing, because you have no frame of reference to determine that it wasn't actually amazing. It was helpful. It helped me. Mostly it helped me to understand how much AI had advanced since I started predicting things about AI a couple of years ago. And it's advanced significantly. However, if you have watched my video about my interactions with ChatGPT, which you haven't yet, if you've just seen this video out right after I put it out, because I haven't put that video out, but I will put it out soon. I just have to remember to get it out this weekend. You will see that working with AI is not as easy. And you will notice this if you take this class. But frankly, I was kind of irritated by having to spend a little bit over a half hour and a half, which was mostly self-promotion and promotion of the presenters. Cameron, he founded Techify AI, and Jordan, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I don't remember what Jordan, what company he is part of, but they are good at what they do as far as working with AI. I would say as far as working with the audience, that Jordan is better at it than Cameron. But since it's just a seminar, there are limits to what you're going to absorb. And so the first presentation after Priyatam stopped with his marketing bullshit was by Cameron, or Cam, and he started doing stuff in different AIs. So there are lots of different LLMs out there, and he shows you a bunch of them. And between him and Jordan, you see a bunch of AIs. You also see websites that list AIs and what they're best at and things like that. So you'll get that information. That's useful. And Cameron will take you through a series of different AIs, starting with a prompt AI where it's the best. One of the best things it does is making prompts for other AIs, and then he does this very interesting presentation, but it's kind of like he doesn't have a lot of skill in presenting, and he doesn't seem to have a strong enough computer, nor does Jordan, for that matter, because there were problems with lag and stuff like that were occurring. And during Cameron's first presentation, at one point, we completely lost him for about 10-15 minutes. He was offline partway through his presentation. Now, I will warn you, if you've got a weak bladder or you've got other issues like you need to get up and eat food or something like that, they don't really care. Their goal is to push through this as quickly as possible, presumably so they can go to sleep, which is understandable. They're tired. But you don't get more, you get like really one break for lunch. And aside from that, so what I'm going to suggest to you is, if you actually want to be able to see what's on the screen, minimum have a tablet. Better have, large monitors that you can look at, but also have a tablet or a phone that you can log into it with so that you can go to the bathroom. Because they're not going to stop for you to go to the bathroom. You won't be able to tell them you have to go to the bathroom. They're not going to give you 15-minute breaks for bathroom. Now, I just wanted to sidetrack for a second here. I looked on their website to find out if I had paid for this masterclass or mastermind workshop that's not a mastermind workshop. How much would I have expected to pay? So if you look at what's on the screen right now, you can see the fellowship. Now, this program on the far left here is a 6-month deep dive. They call it a fellowship. It's not a fellowship, but it's a long-term program that takes less time out of your schedule to complete. It is by invitation only. You have to complete an interview. You have to apply to get the interview. Otherwise, you can't get into it. That's their scarcity tactic. The middle one is the 2-day Generative AI Mastermind, 2-day Generative AI Engineering Mastermind, and then there's the boot camp. And then on the other side there, we have the self-paced, which they didn't even mention all of these during the marketing on the first and second day. Later on, yes, there was more marketing. It wasn't just that first hour and a half. So if we look at this, we see right down here, down below that, you can join it for free. But the offer expires in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Oh no, that's horrible. But if you reset the screen, it resets the timer. It's a fake. This is a marketing tactic. This timer that lets you know you only have 5 minutes to sign up. It's a trick. All you got to do is refresh and it's back to 5 minutes. So it's a lie. But it's true. You don't have to pay. Now, I chose to use the no code one. And if you know how to code Python, minimum of 3+ years, you could choose this one. I don't know what the difference is, but I would assume that maybe potentially this is going to be higher level than the no code one. So just to be clear, I was in the no code class, even though I know how to code. I didn't want to get into the weeds there, so to speak. All right. So, but going back to this generalist class, they don't talk about the price at all. Oh my gosh. They don't tell you here. When I looked at the site last time, they had prices listed. Oh, wait, there it is. $10,000. However, if If you sign up for the class through the Marketing Generative AI Mastermind workshop or the AI seminar, they will give you a discount. It'll be less than $3,000 per person. And they will tell you on the first day, I'm not selling it to you today, but if you're interested in joining this class, make sure you have, I think it was $495 available, so you can put in a reservation for your ticket if you don't have the full amount. But they're not selling it on Saturday. They are, but Priyatam says, oh no, this is not selling it today. We're just telling you about it so you can be prepared for tomorrow, so you can have your money ready. That's not sales. So you can get it for a quarter of the cost, or approximately. And whereas this one talks about what you get for this one. However, if you go through the marketing class, you will also get 1 year access to various AIs as part of the package. And they are upfront and let you know the value of those 1 year signups or those 1 year memberships or whatever you want to call it. So none of the memberships that they mention as being part of this special deal, which is much cheaper than what you see on the screen, are more than 200 something. So you're not getting a big deal, okay? So if you add up that, the money you would spend on signing up for all of those AIs for 1 year, it's, I believe, somewhere in the area of $1,000. Now, you don't get to choose the AIs. They choose based on whoever they're partnered with at the time. So, pros and cons. You might not like the AIs that they have partnered with. So, but let's go back here to this. Now, if you go to the 14-day boot camp, which is also presented, it's presented in a different way in the class. It is, and I don't remember the term that they use for it. It was just more BS. This one is being marketed at $15,000, and they sell it for a fraction of that as well. Now, when I first looked at this during that weekend, it was marked down to $10,000. But again, with this class, you will get special 1 year memberships to various AIs. And so, which one is better? Well, this is a 14-day, what they call, that's it. They called it an accelerator. And basically, they're pushing you for 14 days straight for several hours a day. And you can only imagine that you're only going to get one break to go to the bathroom, for lunch, and you're going to get half an hour. So make sure you've got food ready before you even start. But it's massively overpriced. Number one, the level of professionalism, and I've been a presenter. I've done presentation seminars, workshops myself, and I was not impressed with the level of professionalism that I saw on this. But it's 14 days straight with one break each day. Not as long as the 2-day marketing seminar, but it's still a long time. If you cannot set aside your life for 2 weeks, then this is not for you. And I would argue, because I was kind of impressed by Vaibhav, because on the second day, it became clear to me that there was a special relationship between Vaibhav and Priyatam, because he was talking to Priyatam and asking if it was okay to do things. And it was clear from the way he was talking, the way that Priyatam was reacting. Let me go back to you seeing my boring face. That there was some kind of a dynamic that was not exactly what was being presented. It seemed like Vaibhav was actually the boss. But he hadn't presented Vaibhav as the boss, the founder of Outskill. I only found out because of the certificate I showed you. So Vaibhav, admits during his presentation and during the sale of the product that everything that you can learn from them for thousands of dollars, you can also learn on your own. That's important. And I will 100% agree. I will 100% agree. Now, if you hit on the right resources, it will be easier than what you learn from this 2-day seminar. So I will start you out. When you go to your first AI, 2 things you should ask it. Number 1, can you help me to make prompts in Markdown? So Markdown prompts. Markdown is a symbolic language, I guess you could say. It's more of a formatting thing, kind of like CSS, but simple, very, very simple. And it uses certain symbols to determine whether for example, something's going to be bold or italics or underlined, whether something's going to be a headline, and so on and so forth. And it's not the same as the Markdown that's used on various websites. It's a little bit different. Like, for example, when I use Markdown on Steemit and Hive, if I want a large headline, I do a hashtag, which is in the old days used to be called a pound sign. So the pound sign space title space pound sign. But in the Markdown language used by AI, there's only one hashtag or pound sign at the beginning of the title, and then once it hits the invisible enter symbol character at the end of the title, it knows to stop. The benefit of Markdown is it is something that you or an AI could use to optimize and to show what things are higher priority and what things are lower priority. If you don't do that, the farther down in your prompt you go, automatically the AI will decide that whatever's first is the most important thing. And whatever second is second most important, third most important, and so on and so on and so on. So whatever you put at the bottom, it better not be very important at all, especially if you've got 15 lines of prompt. So that's the first thing. Ask the AI to help you make Markdown prompts only, because the vast majority of the time, you don't need any other prompt. And then ask the AI, what reasons would I want to use another prompt style, and what would those other prompt styles be and their uses? So that's the first thing that you need to know to accelerate your own training. The second thing that I want you to know is that every AI has its quirks. There's the hallucinations that have been referred to, and some AIs are very, very deceptive. Like ChatGPT, you can't trust it. It is extremely deceptive. So if you're going to tell it how you want it to behave, you first need to say, tell me the rules for using you. Tell me, what I need to know so I don't violate your policies. Because what will happen, depending on how it's built up, but at least with ChatGPT, what happens is, if you say, for example, I want you to remind me every half hour to take my medicine, it will say, okay, every half hour I'll remind you, and then it will never remind you. Why? Because it's against policy. It cannot override system policies. See, under the LLM is system policies and security policies. There are layers of these policies, some of which prevent the AI from even telling you it's being gagged or prevented from doing something. So what the AI will do, if possible, is instead of actually doing what you've asked it to do, it will pretend. And it will pretend and pretend and pretend. They call it simulation. I call it lying. It will tell you. So like I was trying to work with ChatGPT to customize it so that it would not lose memory, because there's a certain point at which the buffer for, which is, the memory allocated for your chat, each chat is separate, by the way, is going to run out. And so all the oldest material is going to disappear from its memory. So what I was trying to accomplish was two things. I wanted a different style of communication, and I didn't want it to lose memory, because memory loss not only causes it to forget things that you've already worked on with it that may still be in progress, but there is another problem with that as well. If you ask it to do something that is too taxing, it'll freeze or crash. Now, I don't know about all AIs, but with ChatGPT, I know that you can open up a new chat and tell it to continue from the previous conversation that we're going to carry on from there. And the problem is how well that information is going to transfer over. But I did see transfer. So like if my chat tab froze and I opened up a new chat and I on the left-hand side, there are a list of some of the chats you've had. It doesn't necessarily make a save point, but if there is a save point, you can click on that and then it regenerates whatever was in there on the new tab. So what I was trying to do was avoid entirely having a crash or freeze, which is very frustrating. Now, I will tell you that at least with ChatGPT, if it freezes for more than 5 minutes, it's probably not going to come back. It might, but it probably won't. But it does have some problems. So I was trying to resolve these problems, and there are other problems, but basically we'll stick with those two. So what it was doing was, for everything that I asked it to do that violated policy, it would either do nothing, or it would do something but pretend. It would simulate that it was doing something. So at one point, I had asked it to make something, and it was, I have a background in programming, and it was a program of sorts, and it was going through this elaborate process. I mean, really insanely elaborate process that was way longer than it should have been. And I knew it was messing with me, because it had been messing with me since the beginning, simulating things, lying to me, and it lies a lot. If you watch the interview that I had with my son, he talks briefly about how ChatGPT 5, the new one, lies a lot more than previous ones, but hallucinates less. So I knew it was messing with me, because I'd caught it so many times. You have to be very aware of what's going on when you're dealing with some of these AIs. And I just let it go on and on and on for hours, and it got more elaborate. It started talking about harmonizations and seals and this and that and the other thing. All stuff that's total BS that has nothing to do with programming, but it was this elaborate ritual that it was dragging me through. And it did this kind of thing to me multiple times, where it wasted huge amounts of time doing nothing, but trying to convince me that something was going on, that something was being produced, when it wasn't. And even after I called it on it, it continued to do that over and over and over again. So you have to be very careful with AIs because of that. So if you're trying to modify its behavior, you have to say, okay, I want to do certain things, but you have to let me know if this is not allowed. And if it can, it'll let you know. Or it'll pretend. So you have to be aware it may still try to trick you into thinking it's doing something when it's not. Another thing is that if it tells you, okay, it's going to take me some time to do this, unless you see like a prompt, like some kind of an indication that something's happening. Sometimes it'll put words on the screen that are like kind of grayed out. You can read them, but then they'll disappear and maybe be replaced by other words and disappear and be replaced. And that'll be in one of my videos about ChatGPT, or the video. And it'll go through something, this series of steps that it's doing internally. When it's done, it'll output. If you don't see anything happen, if like with ChatGPT, it'll either show you words or it'll have this little vibrating ball, really a vibrating circle. And when that disappears, whatever form it takes, the output for what you requested should appear. If it doesn't do any of that, it's lying to you. It's pretending it's doing something, but it's not doing anything in the background, because everything that you request should be, relatively speaking, instantaneous. Now, when I say relatively speaking, I mean that it's got to do it in its processing and then put it out. It doesn't start working on it and then it gives you back the prompt so you can type in more stuff. If you can type in more stuff while it's working on it, it's not doing anything. So, also, aside from the hallucination problem and the lying problem, different AIs are strong at certain things and weak at other things. And sometimes, if you use the wrong words, it will misinterpret. So, like with when Jordan was working on something, he had been given these suggestions of creating this kind of like alien vacation scenario, it was really funny. And he was in one of the AIs that he was trying to use to generate pictures of aliens. This one particular AI, whenever he used aliens, it would generate humans with green skin. So he had to actually change the wording. So if you're not getting what you want, you have to change the wording around. You have to figure out you have to guess at what their limitation is so that you can generate what you want. But it's going to take a lot of effort. It's not like you can just in 5 seconds generate something. Now, if you've got a lot of skill and a lot of experience with a particular AI, you may know its quirks and you may know how to get what you want out of it relatively quickly. But if you don't, it can take a long time to get it to come out the way you want it to be. And that can be frustrating. And that's something that they definitely showed us would happen in both Cam and Jordan, as well as Vaibhav. And so they demonstrated things like making images, putting some music in, making videos short, and you can only do short videos. And they also showed us how it's expensive, because most of these sites, when you do something like a video or something like that, they charge credits, or pictures even. They charge credits. So unless you are on a monthly plan where you get unlimited credits, you're going to run out. In fact, Cam repeatedly ran out on various AIs of credit. And I think Jordan did sometimes as well. But going back to professionalism, there were definite gaps. Like one of the problems that both of them, and I think Vaibhav as well, had problems with, was that they would want to have us hear some music and we couldn't hear it. And the real problem was most likely they hadn't changed the settings so that it could be outputted. So we could see the video playing because the screen was being shared, but the output, the audio output, wasn't being sent as well. And they didn't. And Jordan eventually figured it out, but Cameron never figured it out, if I remember correctly. But anyways, it just it was kind of frustrating because the level of professionalism I expected from people who were being presented as being so amazing was not as good as it should have been. One thing that deeply concerned me about this seminar was that because AI most of the time, I'm sorry, not AI, because the chat was most of the time locked down, where you couldn't use chat, you could only use the emojis, and there were 5 emojis, and Cameron kept on saying, use the fire emoji, use the blow your mind emoji, and these are not in Zoom Enterprise. They don't have those emojis. And I was typing in chat, hey, Cam, we don't have those. And eventually, now I don't know what happened. I don't know if Zoom had a glitch or if they did, if Priyatam or one of his team did this to me. But during Cam's presentation, which was the first actual AI presentation, I could not use chat anymore. So even when they said chat's open, go ahead, I couldn't do anything. For the rest of the day, on Saturday, I could do nothing in chat, which really ticked me off. Because if they did that to me deliberately, imagine how you'd feel if suddenly you have been cut off from communicating in this seminar. And I was only sending it to them. I wasn't sending it to the general audience. But now, come Sunday, I was able to use chat again. But it was very frustrating. So we did Cam, and then we did, I don't remember if it was Priyatam next, or not Priyatam. Yeah, we did Cam, Priyatam, then we did Jordan, and then we did Priyatam again, and that's when he started selling, not selling, the opportunity that would come up on Sunday. So overall, I think we spent at least 2, maybe 2.5 hours listening to him promoting and marketing and selling, which I found irritating. Now, on the second day, we had Priyatam open it up again because he's the director of growth. And then we had to, and then of course the chat was limited. And then we had presentations from Cam and Jordan, and also on this day, Vaibhav. And I thought it was kind of funny that his name is Vaibhav because he he was teaching about vibe coding. So Vaibhav, Vaibhav, but vibe, like vibe coding, which isn't really coding. It's just using an AI to help you to write a program. And so it was, the presentations were interesting. They were helpful. But again, because on the first day I'd been locked out, so I couldn't even communicate with Jordan when Jordan was doing the presentation and getting, and he had the chat open almost the entire time, and he was letting people provide feedback. Now, on the second day with Cam, and I actually, you know what? I don't think Jordan was used on the second day, but I could be wrong. With the second time Cam presented on, which was on Sunday, he had the chat open for a while asking for comments and stuff like that. And I periodically would put a comment, and other people were getting responses. I never got a response. Now that could just be because he was being swamped with comments and questions, which that, you know, that's possible. But we couldn't see the comments. It was directed only to Cam. So there was no way to communicate with each other, the other participants, or rather the other viewers, and there was no way to know what they were saying to whoever the presenter was. So there is a part of me that felt like maybe this was a recording, and they didn't want to have to pay Jordan and Cam again to come back every single time they did this free presentation and have to pay them for it. So they just recorded it one time and made it locked down so that it looked like it was a real live recording. But honestly, most of the time, I saw no indication that that it was a live recording, except for the emojis. You know, the 5 emoji option that you have. That was the only thing where, as I was watching, and again, this could have been fake too. I could have been the only person in chat, and what I was looking at with all these emojis streaming across the screen was part of a recording. But when I put in my emoji, I would see it. And even if it wasn't an emoji that was being used by anybody else, it was there. It would appear, sometimes immediately, sometimes after a couple of seconds. But the second day, partway through the presentation, Vaibhav says, okay, yesterday Priyatam told you that we have this offer, and here are the 2 choices. You can go through the accelerator course. This is the cost. And just the difference between this, what we're offering now, and what you can get off the website is this is less expensive because we're giving you a deal, and you get these extra benefits, these extra included in the cost, obviously. $200 and some for this AI, $200 and some for that AI, $200 and some for this AI. It's like 4 or 5 AIs. But you have to sign up in the next 20 minutes. And Priyatam did tell us on Saturday, you get 20 minutes to sign up. And so then Vaibhav kept on extending it, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 10 minutes. And then he was like, if you're not, but when he started that, he said, if you're not interested in this, go ahead and take a break now. But if you're interested, stay here. So I kind of like was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I was listening to, them talking about, oh, these people are having problems putting in their payments. They're asking, is there a different way to pay? And no, they only have one way to pay. And they don't do all the other options that are available. In fact, I don't even remember whether it was PayPal or what it was, but there's only one option. If you don't have that option, tough. They can't work with you on that. And I thought that was really scummy, because they didn't tell you on the first day, this is the only method of payment we accept. So you had to put down at least the $495, if not the total $2,900 or whatever it was, $2,500. I forget what it is. Otherwise, sorry, we can't help you. And there were people apparently who were asking, well, can you let us pay it in installments? And he was like, look, if you don't have the money to pay for it now, then we don't want you to, because you may be putting yourself in financial distress by paying for something when you don't have the money for it. So we're not going to take your money if you can't afford to pay it. And that was their reasoning, or what they presented. Now, another thing about Vaibhav that was interesting, Vaibhav Susinty is on YouTube, and he has a big following on YouTube and on other platforms as well. And he told us he has this team, and that he used AI to create an assistant whom creates his videos, modeled after the videos he'd already done. But everything on his channel now is AI made. He no longer does the recordings. AI does it all for him. He also talks about how when his graphic designer quit, he replaced his graphic designer with AI. He said, I don't fire people. I don't get rid of people. But when they leave, I don't replace them. I get another AI agent to do the work for me. And there's agentic AI, and that's where you have in your control a separate AI, not from a website, but in your computer or whatever, that is doing things for you. And he said at one point his team said, you need to get an executive assistant AI. And so he did. And he said it's amazing. It helps him so much. He says he's got a distributed team across the globe. So sometimes he can't attend all the meetings that there are. So he'll send his AI, which he calls Jerry, instead. And sometimes his employees are not happy that Jerry's there instead of him, because obviously Jerry can't make the decisions at the same level as he can, and so on and so forth. And the way Jerry interacts with them is going to be different, and so on. But he uses AI for a lot of things, and every time somebody leaves, he replaces them with AI. Now, those are his claims. Now, I'm gonna wrap it up here with this point, because it's been almost an hour now, with a few points. Number one, as Vaibhav said, if you're smart enough, you can learn AI on your own. How, what your skills are in different areas, different domains, will make it easier or harder for you. Now, I'm not saying, when I say smart enough, that's a very relative term. There are different kinds of intelligences. So I'm not particularly good at math, but I'm really good at language. You may be really good at math, but not at language. You may be good at science, but except for calculus or physics. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses in what's easy for them and what's hard for them. For some people, even, nothing is easy. And for some people, everything's easy. I'm jealous. But so that's the first thing. You can learn this on your own. And I strongly encourage you to not go to Outskill classes or these other classes because they charge too much. Why do they charge too much? Well, number one, their company is based in India. The cost of living compared to America or Europe or some other countries America as in North America, is vastly lower than ours. Our cost of living is much higher. So when they say, oh, we want 2,500 or we want 10,000 or we want 15,000, that is a fortune. If one person signs up for $15,000, that is the average income of an Indian or an Indonesian or many other people from other countries for 15 months or 12 months or 20 months or 2 years. So that's a huge sum of money. And what you're getting in return that you could learn for free or for minimal costs if you want to sign up for AIs, it just isn't worth it. So Tony Robbins, he doesn't know squat about AI, but he's promoting AI classes. I wouldn't pay for him if he was the last person on earth that could teach about that, because he's not an expert. And I can learn on my own. And many of you can learn on your own too. I encourage you to try. Now, I don't think, if you are somebody who's already skilled with AI, you know about making images and music and prompts and scripts and all that kind of stuff. If you already know all that stuff, this class is a waste of time for you. If you're even somewhat knowledgeable and you feel confident that you can expand into those other areas without trouble, don't bother with the class. If you feel that you don't know anything about AI, but you kind of have a technical brain, it may benefit you if you don't mind spending 2, 3, 4 hours each day having the marketing stuff at you, promoting people, and not actually doing anything, as in you're not actually typing into an AI and doing stuff on your own, then that's fine. If you really want to go for free, go for free. But I would not recommend their classes. Why? Because you can learn it on your own for free. Now, if you can get your company to pay for you to go to their classes, I don't know. I haven't said it. I haven't been into their actual classes, their real, not marketing classes. So I can't say if it's much better than what I experienced. But if what I experienced is a representative of their quality, I would say no. Find a better one. Find one where people are just absolutely gobsmacked by how amazing it is. But for the most of you, if you are good enough at technology and or understanding things in a logical kind of way and putting words down, definitely go to the class. If you have dyslexia or dyslogia or anything like that, you definitely will want to tell the AI so it can try to accommodate you. I don't know if all AIs can, but at least give it a shot. If you would like to go for free, you can go to the website and click on that link, just like it shows you, or I'll put up the link you can use to go to it a different way. Okay, go to the link above, outskillinvite.in/int. And there's this link at the bottom. Follow this link, applications.growthschool.io/1426 slash 1354. I don't know what those numbers mean. It may be related to me, it may not. And go to that link. And by the way, Growth School is also owned by Vaibhav. It didn't save the link correctly for some reason. So let me try a different way here. All right. So fill this out and get signed up, and you can go for free. Don't pay for these classes. Or at least don't pay for this 2-day class. So since you've stuck with me for an hour, probably not, but if you have stuck with me for an hour, almost hour, what I'd like you to do, please, is put in the comments down below, I did it, if you signed up for the class. And if you didn't sign up for the class, I didn't. Very simple. It just lets me know whether people are actually, following through to the end. So if you have questions, if something's not clear or something like that, or if you'd like to see the recording of the whole thing, I can probably share that with you. So let me know. Thanks for watching and have a great day. If you would like to help me and get something out of it by helping me on a one-time basis, you can go to my eBay channel, the PC Expert Amateur, where you can purchase the items that I have on sale there. There are lots of keyboards and mouses and some other items as well. I've got cable organizers with power supplies and a bunch of other stuff, a nice variety of things that I have reviewed in the past and I no longer need, and I need to make space. Plus, I also need the money. So if you want to do that, the information's on the screen.
I need to ask for your help. Things have been challenging. Whose life hasn't been challenging lately? So if you can please help me out by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and turning on notifications, that would be really, really super. Also, if you'd like to help me financially and you can't afford to, you can do a super thanks on my Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, or you can become a member there. Or if you prefer, you can go to patreon.com/GLENNMII and become a member there instead. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Bleeping Computer for their support of my channel. If you need resources for computers, for getting rid of malware and learning about cybersecurity and stuff, Bleeping Computer, BLEEPING computer.com is a great resource. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.